Hello, everyone. It's another Riverdale recap on the channel. I'm, of course, Matthew, joined by my wonderful co host and best friend.
Cal.
Hey, man, great to see you. Now, it's, of course, another episode of Riverdale. We're reviewing these weekly. We have been doing so for the last year, or close to it now. So I think this is episode 16, I believe, season 5, episode 16. Getting to the end point now. So things are starting to heat up. So I'll pass over to Callum to explain what's been going on in our favorite TV show.
That's generous.
That's generous.
Yeah,
That's just as I
we've
said that.
got 3 episodes left. This episode, everybody's committing, a crime, moral or otherwise, really, aside from Archie. Archie is trying to get some justice for him and his fellow soldiers, against the general that sent them on a bit of a dodgy mission, which resulted in many of his troops' deaths. Veronica's up to some white collar crime. Jughead's considering plagiarism. Betty's being her usual self. She's continuing to look for Polly. And Tabitha is continuing to be the woman of Matthew's dreams.
Of course, he's absolutely nailed it there. He took the words right out of my mouth. This episode is an interesting one because, like I said to you off podcast today, I didn't make any notes in this one. Not necessarily because I thought this episode was overly bad or there's a lack of things to take notes on. It's just there's so much going on here. Like the editing, the classic Riverdale editing style, just as they go to town on it. This episode was like, every storyline under the sun is addressed here, which in a way is pretty good. They have to wrap up these storylines at some point, and it's worth noting as well, I guess, that inevitably some of these season 5 storylines are going to be continuing on in season 6. So there's a lot to be done here. But initially, like, what were your thoughts on the episode? Are they sort of similar to mine, or what do you think?
Yeah, it is really just the same storylines with a new script. I'd say the only injection of newness is Archie's storyline, which I think is is perfectly teeing up Archie to return as the the prodigal son of the show. We finally have warm feelings towards Archie again. I think after having several seasons of just a general plateau of annoyance towards him. In this episode, we open with Kevin and Cheryl leading the Jason Blossom ministry, and Penelope Blossom makes the ruling that on Jason's commands, there is to be no more singing, and all I can say is thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Because
Yeah.
I could not stand another musical performance. Whenever they announced they were doing one from Joseph in his Technicolor Dreamcoat, I was like, please don't do this to me. And it was thankfully nipped in the bud. But we have episode 18 to look forward to, I guess, is the phrase I should use. Which is another musical episode, this time focusing on Alice's fantasy of her dream family. Which, I mean, I don't know whether that would include a reappearance of Hal. Is him being a good father her dream family, or is it starting a new life with FP? I think that's something interesting that they're going to be exploring in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it seems like Jason Blossom seems like the best character of the show in this episode, and they killed him off in the first 5 minutes of the TV show. It's a mad one. Yeah, also in this episode, like you said, Archie kind of has the army stuff to deal with, going to the military tribunal about this sort of corrupt general. I really did like that because, like you said, I think Archie has kind of left a sour taste in all our mouths recently with some of his storylines. That's probably not the best turn of phrase, actually. Now I've said that, but nonetheless.
I'd say since the time jump hero.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Archie's the heart and soul of the TV show still for me, anyway. And I think Hedgehop has done really well in this season so far. I think he's been really good. The army military stuff continues to be one of my favorite aspects of season 5. And with that as well, we kind of get this Jughead story about with his writing. I like the way that these episodes are still bringing back storylines from the time jump with sort of individual stories and those kind of thing. I can't believe for a second I thought he was going to plagiarize the book. Like that was the moment in the show. Whereas if he continued to do that, I would have absolutely just been done with his character. Even if the woman who gave him that book, I don't think she turned out to be very nice, if my memory serves me correctly. But
no.
Nonetheless, I can't believe he was even thinking about doing that. He did it, but then he rescinded it. So technically he still did try to try to lie, but he did the right thing in the end, so I can't complain too much.
Yeah, if he had continued with that, I would have lost all respect for him. But with Archie, massive respect gained in this episode, and in the previous episodes where he's dealt with the issues around the town. Archie has been kicked and kicked several times this season, and he deserved a win, and I'm glad he got one.
Yeah, 1,000,000%, 1,000,000%. It's really nice to see, and with that, it's kind of juxtaposed with like Veronica's villainous streak in this episode.
Oh
She
God,
becomes really like her dad, really, doesn't she? Here,
yeah,
she's really callous, and it kind of made me feel a little bit bad for Hiram when like he sees his sort of his Sodial model kind of ruined with like fake palladium, and he's like, no, no, no,
yeah.
no. I was like, oh, what a snake.
Because I was thinking in this episode, he has a lot of money, you know, and he has a lot of power. He probably wants more power, but why does he need more money? And then I remembered his true goal for this is to finish what his dad started. His dad came to Riverdale to find the Palladium, and he's wanting to do that. I think if he just shared that story with Veronica, she might not be so callous as to steal it from him.
Yeah.
Because I mean, she's just committing crime left and right. We're just waiting for her to commit her first murder, and then she's essentially just Hiram in a woman's body at that point.
Yeah, 1,000,000%, 1,000,000%. It kind of seems like her Hermosa's kind of snaked Hiram over as well. I'd be interested to see if that character
Mm.
makes a return because they've kind of teased a Reggie romance there as well. Yeah, so this season's been a wild one because you kind of look back and you kind of think Reggie was going to be a villain for the season, but he's kind of returned to his kind of anti-hero roots, if you will. And he's got a lot more to do in these recent episodes, hasn't he? I remember there was a plot line with his dad a couple episodes back. So it's very interesting to see him having a lot more to do. And I really like Charles Melton. Like I said, he's probably one of my favorite characters in the show. So I was really pleased with that.
Yeah, I think what they're doing with Archie proves that they don't actually need to give him a romantic interest to give him purposeful storylines. So I think just get Reggie and Veronica back together. That couple has a lot more chemistry. Namely, I suppose because they dated in real life. So they do have a lot of romantic chemistry, far more than Veronica and Archie. And I'd say just get them back together, and then
Yeah.
they can redeem each other, through their relationship. I don't know. Maybe they can do something good for once.
Yeah, I'd agree. I like them together, to be honest, in the show. And it kind of seems like they're teasing the Betty and Archie romance again a little bit in a
Uh,
few of the synopsis for the later episodes. Spoiler alert, I guess. But I suppose I imagine if you're watching this, you're a big Riverdale fan, that you've probably heard that already, or you're up to date with those kind of things. So yeah, I mean, this episode was a weird one. There's an absence of Betty, which I was I thought it wasn't really not noticeable, which that sounds really insulting. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just that I think that the pacing was reasonably good. It's just this whole sort of Ministry of Jason shit I'm just not buying. It feels like something that belongs to like the farm storyline in Riverdale. Like I felt like they left that behind years ago, and they're bringing this sort of cult stuff back again. I just don't like it, mate. I just don't like it at all.
yeah, with Betty, she's becoming a sort of quite menacing character along with the other ones that are kind of developing. Alongside that.
Yeah.
There was a moment where Jughead is apologizing to her for the voicemail that he left, several years prior. And there's this sort of swelling dramatic music, and I was like, is she gonna kill him? Like it really felt like it was going for that. And then we're sort of switching back between Cheryl and Kevin, and then these scenes with Jughead and Betty, and like it's just very, the show is very earnest at this point. I think that there's no self-awareness, unfortunately. But by this point, to summarize the episode, Cheryl and Kevin have lost it. Veronica is a con artist. Jughead's a plagiarist, and Betty's like a danger to herself and others. I don't know how it has possibly come to it that Archie Andrews is the most sane person in the main cast. How has that
He's
happened?
done it.
There's
He's
there's
back.
Tabitha, of course, but aside from her, being, the perfect person, the most moral person in Riverdale, Archie is, the only staying character, right from season one who has kept the sanity
I
or
can't
has
believe
reclaimed it.
I can't believe those words have exited your mouth yet. Like that's not something
I
I
know.
ever expect you to say. I say just get Tabitha and Archie together. Honestly, I say just do that. I think they'd suit each other nicely. But no, on that note, mate, I don't have anything more to say in the episode.
Yeah, it is complicated with the relationships because Jughead doesn't deserve Tabitha and Betty doesn't deserve Jughead, and Archie doesn't deserve Veronica. You know, and let's be honest, no one deserves Tabitha, because like everybody in this town is, you know, crazy. You know, they need to bring in someone new, or you know, maybe just, I mean, she doesn't need to be with anyone. She's a strong, independent woman. You know, a business owner. You know, something. She doesn't need anyone.
Yeah, I think she's definitely one of the best additions the show's made in years, if I'm honest. I'm not just saying that because I kind of have a crush on her. I genuinely mean that. Like, I think she's the best character they brought in ages.
Would you say she is you know, your biggest ever fictional character crush?
Nowhere near.
Nowhere near.
Dude, I mean, she's, you know, that's a lie. I mean, I don't know. She's really sweet.
Abby Mallard, number one.
I mean, Abby Mallard. I mean, check out our Get to Know Us episodes if you want to know that. Yeah, I have way too many cinematic crushes. I mean, I was watching. I mean, Martha Jones from Doctor Who as well. I was rewatching Doctor Who lately. I mean, yeah, I think be crushing her.
Okay.
But no, I think Tavis is generally like one of the best characters they've brought in, probably since like Mad Dog, which I really want to see Mad Dog again. I really liked him. So I'd say she's right up there with probably the best new additions to the show in years. And yeah, I think this episode was nothing really special, was it? It was just kind of your average sort of Riverdale filler. But that being said, there's like next week we're gonna get an interesting one with sort of Archie and stuff, drop down the palladium mines. It seems like everything's sort of heating up in that one.
Like, if they could, you know, dice the show's runtime in half, you know, make it 10, 13 episodes, it'd you know, be 5 times the quality, 100%. You know, they are just scrambling quite a bit, you know, especially with Veronica and with Cheryl and with Kevin. You know, I think they are really panicking. I mean, Kevin became a dad in the last episode, and yet his storylines are still focusing on, you know, him singing in front of a congregation. Like, you know, there's so much more scope for his character, I think, as a dad. You know, being, you know, him and Fangs being, you know, him and Fangs and Tony being the first parents of the group. Like that has, you know, they could do, you know, a very very comedic sort of odd couple situation with that, you know, where they really just aren't even trying to do that.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. I think the Kevin character is one that has so much potential, but they don't know quite what to do with him. You know.
Yeah. So Matthew, if you had to give your rating of this week's episode, what would you go for?
It's certainly not my favorite of the season, but it's certainly not, you know, a bad episode. It's not much going on, so I'd probably say, you know, maybe a 7 or something. I was really expecting this episode, the one that really fires the show, up a level, where like it gets really intense and things start occurring, but that didn't really happen. I'm holding out next week. Although I don't know if I don't even know if I can hold out hope for next week, given that the episode after that's a musical one. So I don't even know when they're gonna
You might
start.
have been off the season.
Well, I don't know. Like it's this one's a funny one, given that it ends in a few episodes and they haven't really concluded anything. I'm a bit worried, but you know, here's hoping. Season 5's been pretty decent so far, though.
I mean, it seems next week they're planning on establishing the link that we've been talking about between the truck drivers and the Mothman.
Yeah.
You know,
Seems like
Nana Rose seems to be dropping some exposition, so I feel like we're going to get some closures, or at least some answers on that next week. If you had to give a number, what would you go for?
probably a 7. Probably a 7 out of 10.
Okay. I think the show should be a bit worried when you could very easily skip this episode and watch the like 40-second previously on the next episode, and you would get the full grasp of this episode. You know,
Such a good point.
I think you could
Yeah.
very easily skip this episode, and I think that's the point at which you should be concerned, like what you're doing. You know, you should be a bit reflective on the fact that, you know, it's kind of a meaningless episode. And I mean, it costs, you know, time and money to write these episodes. So I mean, if they're not worthwhile, why do them? You know, I guess, you know, the more episodes you make, the more ratings in theory you get, the more ads you sell. But I mean, you know that a 13 episode season is going to be better in quality, and like surely you would rather have positive critical consensus on a tighter,
Yeah.
shorter
Maybe
narrative
then.
than you know, risk the quality for ads. I mean, I suppose, you know, Hollywood is just a money making machine, but you know, every studio that's putting out a show like this has enough money already. Like, you know, it's all about making more money, but you know, you could probably sacrifice a margin of that for the quality and for the hype, really. But this episode is very, you know, expendable, I'd say, within the season. I think you could easily skip it, which is it's concerning. So yeah, I'd give it probably a 6.5, 7 as well.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, mate, with your consensus. I definitely have to agree with you. And yeah, I mean that wraps up another Riverdale recap. A bit of a shorter one this week because obviously not much is going on. But yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed. And thanks very much, Callum, for your time today, mate. And if you want to check
Thank
out our
you.
other Riverdale reviews, check out our Riverdale playlist or like our Netflix original playlist. They're all added there as always. And yeah, we hope you guys are all well. Hope your family and friends are keeping safe and well too. Take care, everyone, and see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.